Hello and welcome, and in this video we're going to be looking at 7 cheap items that you can buy to improve your industrial terrain, be it for Warhammer 40k or something like Star Wars Legion. So I will provide links in the description where appropriate, but let's just crack on. So the first thing we're going to be looking at are these kids pipes. Now these generally come under 2 forms, but they're all basically for children to get the hang of building things with, basic shapes, but they do a good job of appropriating like industrial terrain piping. Now I say that they come in 2 forms because there are generally 2 sizes. There's a smaller size where the pipe width is approximately 1 centimeter, and then there's another size where it's a little bit bigger and they come in maybe just under an inch, so maybe 25 millimeters. Neither is particularly expensive. The smaller versions tend to come as a kid's pipe kit on its own, and the larger version tend to be, for some reason, bundled as a kind of toy where you build it with wheels. That's the way I got mine. I got a nice big juicy tub of them for about £10 on Amazon. As I said, the links will be in the description, and they make a perfectly good piping system for your industrial terrain. It is possibly recommended where you're going to do a straight piece to maybe roll up a bit of card and use that instead of the pipe, because you generally don't get that many straight pieces, but they're only cheap and they look pretty damn good. The next one is we are going to talk about electrical gang boxes. Now the classic ones that you see online, the blue ones, they are available I think only in America or those kind of countries. They are not available in the UK, and that's because obviously electricity, the rules and the regulations are all different. So in the UK you can't get them that look exactly like that. Well, that's not strictly true. On Amazon, I was able to order from the US store of Amazon and get them delivered over to the UK for approximately £8. Now, when I last checked, they weren't in stock, but I'll try and leave a link in the description again. These gang boxes, though, are perfectly good for industrial terrain. You'll see them in a lot of builds, and you can throw them almost anywhere, and they just have a sort of industrial kind of look to them by default. Warhammer did a fantastic video where he basically just took the gang boxes, added some extra details to them, and just used them as they were, and you know what, they actually look pretty damn good. Link available to that and any other video that I mentioned in this video in the description below. The next item we're going to be looking at are bottle tops. Now these obviously come in a variety of places, generally bottles, hence the name, but you can get them from baby food pouches. Those are the ones that have the vent kind of aesthetic to them. They're very useful to just throw on the side of a building or something like that, and it'll naturally look like a sci-fi vent. But they come in kids food pouches. You can sometimes get them in adult yogurts, but they're a little bit trickier to find. If you want them, they're not very expensive, maybe £1 for 4 in the UK, so pretty damn cheap. Don't rule out other kinds of bottle tops though. You can obviously get the classic bottle top from a Coca-Cola bottle, but there's maybe bigger bottle tops on milk bottles, etc. All of those in the right time and place can really add a little bit of extra detail to your terrain. The next item is more of a subset of items, and that is plumbing items. Now there's a wide variety of different things you can get here, but if you go into a DIY hardware store and you look at plumbing fixtures and fittings, you can get some cool looking industrial-esque kind of items. Now you can also get plastic piping, which if you didn't get the kids piping in the first option, you can possibly use plastic piping. It's a little bit difficult to cut though, with a hobby knife you're not going to be able to do that. You will need something like a saw or an actual specialized tool that'll just clip it. But they do other kind of things which, probably have special plumbing names. There's certain kinds of corners with funky shapes on that I used in my industrial build. And I'll try and get you a little snippet from a video from Crafty Terrain, who made, they have these little, I don't know what they're called, but there's this cool looking sort of industrial septic tank kind of piping, and they put that on the side of the building. They put 2 of them on the side of the building, and you can see that they look pretty damn good. Basically, this isn't one specific item, more of just a subset of items. You can go into a hardware store and just see what you can pick up in the plumbing aisle, and I think you'll be able to get some cool stuff that might fit your industrial build. The next one is a classic, and that is the knitting mesh, often called granny grating. Now I don't know if that granny grating was ever deemed derogatory, but it's basically a knitting mesh, right, that's used in the knitting world for whatever reason. I'm not 100% sure exactly what it's for, but It's basically a plastic mesh that has like a grid or like, you know, little holes in it. And it's very good for just like your generic metallic industrial kind of look, whether or not that'd be on a gang box that Wylock did, or whether or not that'd just be on, say, like a walkway. Very easy to get a nice like industrial looking walkway just by using the knitting mesh. Now, it actually comes in, I think, like different grades, I want to call it, or whatever it's called. And it's like 7, 10, 14 or whatever. And that basically is the size of the hole. There is generally a standard size though, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But if you just search like knitting mesh, plastic knitting mesh or plastic knitting canvas, you will probably find it. It's very good just to add either little details in certain things, or just, you know, to form the base of a walkway. It's very cool. It's not very cheap. It's probably like £10 for a couple of sheets, but it's cheap in the terrain world at least. Speaking about a material that isn't quite cheap or may not be cheap, it really depends on the availability in your area and where you can get it, and that is water guns, or maybe even like Nerf guns, but plastic toys that are in the shape of a gun generally make good sort of like towers or additions to towers. Now, this was done by Black Magic Craft this summer and Midwinter Minis. There's quite a few videos the summer just gone of people getting water guns and turning them into industrial terrain, and it looks pretty damn good. How you get them cheap is another question. Like, I could never find a source that was available online where I could buy them cheaply very easily in the UK. I suspect though, if I would have walked into my local pound shops or my like you know, kids toys shops kind of things, that I probably would have been able to pick them up for a lot less than what I was finding them online. That, however, though, is just your area. I do recommend here that they're going to be difficult to cut the plastic. If you do buy this, then you're probably going to want to have like a Dremel or a correct kind of maybe like razor saw or a hobby saw to make sure you can get through the plastic, because it's going to be tough. But I just wanted to get these down because, you know, this on the list, because this was pretty hyped in summer. A lot of people was doing this kind of terrain. A lot of people were doing this kind of terrain. The next one is actually one that I really like, and it's probably my favourite because it's so easy to do, and that is getting these plastic tennis rackets that you can use and snip up for ladders, or even sometimes railings, or, you know, like handrails, that kind of thing. Now, I did get this idea from Eric's Hobby Workshop, and ever since I saw that video on the first video where I saw it of his, I've been using it almost ever since. I get mine on eBay for just a couple of quid for like 2 rackets. You can get these in probably your pound shop or your dollar store as well, but they're available in the UK at least on eBay for just a couple of quid. And the plastic rackets, they come with a ball. You know, you could actually play the game if you wanted to before you make your terrain. And all you do is you just snip them, and you've basically like one strand of them, and you basically have a ladder. I have found sometimes that if I tried to hot glue just the ladder bit to a piece of terrain, then the hot glue would sort of cause a bit of ugliness. So what I actually would recommend is maybe gluing it onto some card first and then gluing the card onto your terrain. And I feel like that really like makes a decent looking ladder. You can combine that with the classic hair curler, which is basically these like plastic semicircle cylinders, which you can make them look like protectors. And, you know, like if somebody's climbing up a ladder, then at the top sometimes they have it so like you can't fall backwards. And yeah, you can do that like on the back of the ladder. That looks pretty good. But yeah, these are very cheap, very quick way of getting ladders. Probably not like the best way of making a ladder, but they are very, very quick, and that's what I really like about them. And yeah, I use a lot of these in my builds. A lot of them are very cheap. I will leave links to the people I mentioned and to the items where I can find them. Obviously the ones where it's like bottle tops, I'm probably not going to give you a link for that. But thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you have any more to add to this. I have a couple that I've left off, but maybe we'll come back and do, you know, 5 more cheap items. But let me know if you have any cheap items, and let me know if you found any of the ones in this video useful. Quick shout out to my Patreons. We have had a increase in numbers there, and I really appreciate your ever growing support, and the community that we're building is fantastic. So thank you to you guys. Like and subscribe. Have a most beautiful day. Goodbye.